Sorry about that, guys. My computer shut down again. So we're gonna do it from my phone. I think that'll be the easiest way to do that. This whole retrograde thing is really bothering me. So, witchcraft, right? So what is a witch? This is awful. So bad. Oh my. This is so stressful. I've never had this happen. And of course it has to happen tonight. Because, I've had a terrible week. So, throw that on top of it. I am just so sorry that this is not working. This is horrible. Okay. Witchery, right? So what is a witch? A witch is a magical practitioner, somebody that observes ritual and uses it to affect their surroundings and basically manipulates energy in order to seek a positive outcome of something that they want. Now, that doesn't mean that all witches get what they want. That is absolutely inaccurate and not at all true. So, we tend to manifest what we desire. And not always does it work. So, I've tried to manifest things that didn't manifest. But chances are, if they're not manifesting when you want them to, you're not in a position to receive them at that point. Or you haven't completed certain karmic steps that you need to in order to be able to receive what it is you're seeking. It just depends on you, kind of what you're looking for. So some witches seek power, some witches seek healing, some witches seek money. It can be associated with any of those things. It's just depending on what that practitioner is hoping to get out of it. So, signs of witchcraft. What are signs that you might be a witch? There are several, but we'll go over a few of them here. And then I want to kind of talk about the types of witches. I know that I have many a time, and probably here in fact, called myself an eclectic solitary practitioner. What in the world does that mean? We'll get there. I promise. So, let's talk about some of the signs that you might be a witch. Of course my fracking computer won't work. I have had enough. I am done with Mercury retrograde. It can be done now. It's not gonna be. Okay. So, I looked up Thought Catalog because they have a lot of really good resources on things like this, but I needed like a quick comprehensive list because I didn't have time to note take, obviously, with all the shenanigans happening. So, some signs that you might be a witch or might have witchcraft in your blood. You have a deep love towards, well, pretty much like everything. And not everybody has a love for everything. That's not what I mean. I mean, we witches will focus in on one or a couple of things and absolutely fall head over heels. That's what we do. That's who we are. So, it just, means that you may have an appreciation or a deep sense of love for something specific to you. Commonly in like history, we've seen witches that are commonly associated with like gardening or animals, or hearth witchcraft, which is basically like kitchen witchcraft today, or home witchery, I guess. I don't know. There are so many. It's such a big world out here. And then if you have a familiar, you also might be a witch. Now, some of you might not know what a familiar is. And probably most of you have seen Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and you do know what it is. So, that's not what a familiar really is, but they do a fun job of trying to explain it. The idea of familiars has been around basically as long as witchcraft has. And, basically, what they are, well, they've been a few things. So, the most commonly thought of type of familiar is the animal familiar. So, if you are very close with a certain animal or a certain breed of animal, then that would probably be your familiar. It just is something that witches tend to pick up as they go. Romans believed that familiars like protected them until, the pagan purge, and then that was no bueno anymore. Shamans believed that familiars were like forms of thought, so not actual animals, but like, I guess like a manifested thought animal. Okay. So if you've seen Harry Potter, I can't believe I've gone blank. Harry's is a stag. Anyway, if you don't know, I don't know either, because I can't think right. But those are kind of like familiars. Although in the series, they kind of call familiars their animals that they take with them, so like Hedwig. But shamans believed it was more the thought form, so not actual physical creatures. Modern witches like myself and other magical practitioners like me, we usually view them as like animals or aids that kind of assist us when we need it. So they give us a little bit of a boost, energy-wise, or like, I love my dogs. My dogs are my whole entire world. Like, if anything ever happened to my dogs, I'd lose my mind. They are my babies. So, well, and I also have human babies, but mainly the dogs, right? So, I'm kidding. Yeah. My dogs are very helpful in my craft because they make me feel more confident. They make me feel loved. They make me feel safe. And when you feel those things, your magic tends to work a lot better. You're manifesting a lot more because you feel positive vibes. So there is such thing as a demonic familiar. Now, that I'm not going to tell you it's right or wrong. I won't. But it is kind of, it comes from medieval times. So, yeah, you. So, probably around the time of like the Malleus Maleficarum, that the book on like dark witchery, basically. That was kind of where that term came from. And especially when witches were hunted, they would say that the witches had demonic familiars. It was kind of like a way to scare away people from witchcraft. If you can interact with the dead or other entities, like inhuman spirits, that is a huge indication that not only are you sensitive, but you also are probably a witch. Somewhere in your line, there's definitely some magical blood there. It sounds cliche, but it really is a huge point. And usually that takes time to develop. So you don't automatically just wake up one day and you can see and feel and talk to ghosts. That's not how that works. It's not Jennifer Love Hewitt, right? So basically you have to exercise that muscle for it to become stronger, which I have done this my whole life, and I still have issues sometimes. It's a work in progress. Like, it will always be. If you're in tune with the moon, that is a huge indication that you're a witch. I love the moon. Like, I'm all about the lunar side of things, which is odd because I'm a Leo, and Leos are sun signs. Yeah, or fire signs, but it is my sun sign. Sorry, I misspoke. Many people that do feel the connection to the moon will say, like, they feel their moods change with the changing of the moon phases, or they kind of feel a magnetic pull, so like a drawing them in toward the moon, especially like with like a new moon or a full moon. Like, I do feel that way. Most full moons, I will feel the need to go out and be under it, and most witches will. And sometimes you may not even know why you feel that pull, but that is why. You have a passion for natural living, or you enjoy being in nature. You feel at one with nature. Now, I am not the most nature sensitive person out there. I probably could be a lot more ecologically friendly. I'm not where I should be, probably. But I do deeply respect nature. So for me, like, if I'm feeling extremely chaotic or upset or just having a really bad time, I will go down to the river downtown Allegan, and I will just sit and listen to the water, because that makes me feel close to nature, and it makes me feel like I'm letting all of my negative energy flow right downstream. And it is super helpful. It really is one of my favorite places in the world to be. So yeah, those are some signs. And then being an empath. So you can be an empath and not be a witch. But there are... most witches tend to be at least a little empathic. When you tune into somebody else, or you pick up on their feelings or their emotions, you tend to, or I do anyway, I'm horrifically empathic, so I pick up on everything, and then I internalize it, and then feel it myself, and it's just awful when I don't ward myself. So that's something to kind of be on the lookout for, because it can really negatively affect you if you aren't careful, or if you don't protect yourself. So if you have a passion towards, like, helping other people or healing, those are huge indications right there. For me, I was just certified as a Reiki practitioner, and I didn't realize it during my studies, but once I was certified, I was like, oh, well, yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I was supposed to do. So, yeah, but you don't have to have studied Reiki to to meet this this sign. If you go overboard in trying to help your friends, or you give better advice than what you can take, that is in and of itself a passion towards helping humanity. And some people do take advantage of that, so be very careful about that. I have been taken advantage of so many times. Like, seriously, sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and I go, what were you thinking, girl? Like, get yourself together. But I would do it all over again, because that's who I am, and I'm okay with that. So take it as it is, or, protect yourself better, I guess. Shut that part of you off. I can't, so that it will never happen for me. But, yeah. So you feel change with the seasons. So I feel this a lot around Samhain, which is our Halloween fest. And some people call it Samhain, but it is pronounced Samhain. So that is when I feel closest to my witchy self. The veil between our world and the world beyond us is very, very thin at that time. So a lot of magical practitioners or people that have lineage of witchcraft will tend to feel spooked a little bit more, because you may have things coming in and moving things, or trying to make contact with you, because it's easier for them to do that. So yeah, just that one is a big one for me. I always feel most witchy around Halloween, but I'm a witch all year round, so yeah, those are just some of them. There, like I said, there's a ton of signs or little things that you could look at and go, oh, that might mean I'm a witch. And if you are thinking that way, definitely look it up. If you need references, I have them. Just send me a PM and I will gladly send you those links, or I have books I could print or scan copies for you if you needed those. It tends to be a self-realization thing in ourselves at an earlier age, but some people don't wake up until way later. It's really individual based. Another sign of this is you find that children, like small children or animals, tend to be drawn to you. It's because they feel connected to you. Mainly children will have paranormal experiences because they are that connected. And so when you are a witch or you have witchy lineage, then they tend to connect to you as well. And they don't even realize that they're going out of their way to do it, but they are. It's just one of those weird connections that we have in the universe. And then another one would be like, if you're one of those people that would rather be a night owl, or if you feel comfortable in the dark, or the opposite of that, actually. It could go either way. If you're on one end of the spectrum or the other, that could be a sign. Now, that one isn't as prominent as some of the other ones we talked about, but it is one of the signs. Another sign that I see more of is being drawn, or feeling like you're being drawn to elements. So, earth, air, water, fire, and spirit. Spirit is also an element, but not a lot of people know that. Anyway, doesn't matter. If you feel drawn to, like, if you say in the summer you can't swim enough, water has always been like your safe place and you love being there, that is definitely a draw to the elements. I like fire. Fire, to me, makes me feel full. So when I am warm and I am looking at, a beautiful bonfire, say, I feel most myself. And it is a genuine connection and emotion that you get from it because that element is in tune with you in some way. So, yeah. Those are just some of them. We won't go over the other ones because there are so many of them. But I do kind of want to talk a little bit about, well, now I've lost my spot. I can't remember what I was going to do after that. So cool. Oh, types of witchcraft. Yeah, because there's a frick load of those too. I gotta look these up because I don't even know them all. There are so many. Like, I'm not even kidding you. There's like hundreds of different types of witchcraft. It's insane. I wish that I did not have to hold my phone and do this, but I do. So, bear with me, please. I had all of these links already pulled up, and stupid Mercury retrograde. I say that with respect. Okay. So there are, you can have modern witchcraft, or traditional witchcraft. That's, basically where you observe the older religious, not religious, the older practices. I'm off tonight. This is a terrible live, and I apologize for having put you through it. This is so unfair for you. Yeah. Not one of my strong suits, I'll say. Okay. So traditional or folk witches are mainly, they have been passed this information from family, so from their ancestors. And usually it's one after the next in a family, or it's every other one. So that isn't as common today as it once was. It was really prevalent, like back in the times of the Crusades and things like that. That was when folk magic was huge, because basically they didn't really write a whole lot down. They did somewhat. They drew a little bit, but mainly they would talk. They would talk about what they believed, and that's how it passed from one generation to the next. That doesn't happen as much anymore. I'm trying to keep that tradition alive. Like, my children are somewhat interested, my daughter more than my boys, but yeah, I try to kind of teach her what I'm doing if she's interested in it. I would never push her to it. That's another thing, like, that really bothers me when people will push their children into either religion or spirituality just because that's what they believe. My children have free reign. They get to believe whatever they decide to believe, and that's okay. No judgment. So, sorry, I went off on a tangent there. A hedge witch. And I mentioned this one earlier. Hedge witch, green witch, they usually are called hearth witches, or they were called hearth witches, and they pretty much served spell work for domesticated actions. So like kitchen witches make food, and they use that to invoke their spells. And it was a lot like that. So whenever they would clean, there was one spell or practice that was still passed down. If you had a broom and you were sweeping away the negative energy, you were to sweep it straight out the front door and close the door behind you and then put a line of salt down. That was one of the hedge witchery traditions. So they focused mainly on the hearth, which was the home. And now that has turned into, as I said, kitchen witchery and green witchery and things like that. Typically, they like to work with herbs. So herbal magic is huge for hedge witches. They like to plant them, grow them, harvest them. They are all about that. Or oils. They like to make oils out of them sometimes. I am not a hedge witch. I couldn't keep a plant alive to save my life. So that will not happen for me. But to each their own. We are all our own individual types of witches. Gardnerian or Alexandrian Wiccans. Now, I have a different point of view of the Wiccan beliefs, I guess. But I will keep those to myself because they're still to be respected. They still have their beliefs, and that's fine. So in traditional Wicca, which is one of tons of different more modern types of witchcraft, Gardnerian and Alexandrian practitioners usually can be traced back to, back all the way back. So their lineage tends to not break. But not all of them. Yeah, I guess that's not so true anymore. So people have converted. But it used to be Gardnerian and Alexandrian practitioners. They could trace their lineage as far as the eye could see. Like, they could go all the way back and say, okay, this one was a witch, this one was a witch, this one, and now I am, and then my daughter will be, So that's how that used to work. It doesn't so much stand up anymore, mainly because a lot of this was pushed aside or forgotten or vilified. So their traditions are really strict. So this is what I would call more the religious form of witchcraft. So they do a lot of ceremonial magic, which has to be followed to a T. You have to have certain things. You need to say certain things, and you have to say them a certain way. Now, I guess you can think of me as more like the free-based type of witchcraft. Wow, that's bad. I'm an eclectic witch, so I take a little bit of everything. I like to do my own thing. I don't like to conform. I'm non-conformist. So, but eclectic witch is kind of an all-encompassing term. It's an all-purpose term. It's basically any type of witchcraft that doesn't fit in one specific category, because it's a blend. I have taken things from hoodoo. I have taken things from, and respectfully, of course, you don't do this without asking. You don't do this without a blessing, or an okay to do it. It's not, yeah. Anyway, so sometimes eclectic witches, they'll call themselves, what is it? Neo-Wiccan. So, Nega-Wiccan, basically. They're the opposite of Wiccan. I don't know. I'm not Wiccan. I will never be Wiccan. So yeah, I guess I could see why people would say that, but I don't particularly use that term in my own practice. We use a different way of attaining our information too. We don't depend on familial spell books or grimoires, we usually will look throughout history. So we're really, really good at research. Extremely good at research. And then, and now especially, there are a lot more of the eclectic practitioners out there because of the internet. The internet has become such an amazing tool for us to attain what we are driven to know. So yeah, and then we just kind of decide to try different things, and then like if something that we try doesn't work, then we just leave that to somebody else that's not for us. Yeah. Now, I said this term already, but kitchen witch. So kitchen witches are baking witches, for lack of a better descriptive term. They're hearth witches, but it's, I guess, kitchen witches focus a little bit more in the food or preparation of a meal type of situation than hearth witches do. Hearth witches will focus on the entirety of the home. So I guess that's, you know, the main difference between those two. Yeah, and then you have ceremonial magic and ceremonial witches, which are, they're called high magic practitioners. They use specific types of rituals, specific types of incantations, and it is kind of a blend of really old style witchcraft. So, Thelema, Enochian magic, Kabbalah, those types of things are ceremonial. They have a high value for the way things are and the way things are done, and you do it that way. Actually, a lot of people that are practitioners of ceremonial magic, they won't even identify themselves as witches. They don't like the word, and that's fine by me. But yeah, they won't identify themselves as a witch. They practice ceremonial witchcraft. They are ceremonial practitioners. Hereditary witches are, okay, so it isn't like biologically inherited, although that is what hereditary means. That's not what it means in this sense. This is like small beliefs or traditions or rituals that have been passed from like one family to another family maybe, or to younger members of their family even, one generation to the next, right? Mother to daughter, father to son. Outsiders really are very rarely included, if ever. Hereditary witchcraft is very closed circuit, so you don't get to just walk in there. The information is usually kept in the family because it is their information to hold. They feel like it is their duty to keep that and pass it on, but only to their familial ties to ensure that the tradition lives on. So yeah, those are just some of the types of witchcraft out there. Like I said, there are so many of them. It's not even funny. There's like a ton. But those are the only ones we're going to go over tonight because I'm tired and my head hurts and I've had enough. So, yeah. I really appreciate everybody putting up with me for as long as they have with all this nonsense. I apologize. I will try to have a better plan next week. And yeah. So thank you for joining me. I am Miss Lynn's the Mystic, and this is the Magical Menagerie. Stay magical, my friends.